Gail here. It's time for our regular monthly live, the last regular installment for a while. I'll be back on once more at the end of this month in lieu of a live in October because I will be away in October, so won't be able to do the lives then. But hi, this is your resident discombobulated Gail / author personage, author beast. And we're going to talk about lots of fun things today. I hope you guys have some questions for me. The office is slightly in flux. I got rid of an old couch, so I'm currently sitting on just one of my little chairs. Hi, June. Everybody say hi. I did a test earlier in one of my private groups, and it wasn't working, so I'm really delighted to say that I can see your comments. Yay! Yes, and Germany! Hi! Oh, this is so exciting. Everybody's telling me where they're tuning in from, my favorite part. So Kelly and I had hoped to have a Gail, like a mukbang eating purple food day today, but sadly we could not get the purple food up and running in fast enough. New glasses. Yes, these are actually the same frames with a different, the same base frames with a different appearance frame on them. I guess this is Pair Eyewear. You've probably seen it advertised. The moment I mention it, it'll probably trigger all the algorithms. But yes, these have tea all over them. So they're all like teapots and teacups and things. So of course I had to buy them. And I'm wearing a top that has purple and teal for the two books. And yes, of course, I did that intentionally. It matches both books. I did already own the dress. I did not buy the dress just because it matched, although I totally would. So today we can talk some more about these two books, with the third one coming out soon, very, very soon, 2 weeks now. And then I'm going to talk about the tea. Yay, tea. Yeah, so I brewed up. Let's get stuck in immediately to the tea. While you all clock in, tell me when you're tuning in from, all that sort of thing. Thank you, Dick. Dick's posted it over to the group. I will talk about the tea. I didn't plan this, just like last time, I didn't plan this properly. This tea looks better if you can see the light like through the tea. Let me see if I can make that happen. Hold on. Bright light. Okay. Tea. It looks more purple. It's really quite blue. Anyway, that's the tea. That is a 3-minute brew on 2 scoops of this tea, 2 teascoops of this, teaspoon scoops, which is an Iron Goddess oolong or a Chinese mountain oolong with butterfly pea flower, which are Thai, usually in origin. I don't know where these are sourced. It's a Thai Kuan Yin oolong and then butterfly pea flower. And I helped to create this tea. I got the samples and then I picked them and I tested them all out. It was different mixes. This was the mix I chose. So this has been personally curated by me. And Tea Punk Teas is selling it. They may be out because you got very excited and bought a bunch of it. But they promise they'll be restocking soon. But I thought I would play with it because people have been asking what it's like when you do stuff with it, because it is a fun tea. Now, of course, I forgot to bring lemon, which is obviously what most people have in it with it. But, well, I'm just going to show you what it looks like in the cup. So this is what it looks like in the cup. Just blue. She spills it all over herself, but that doesn't really matter. And it tastes basically like an oolong. To me, anyway. And how does an oolong taste? An oolong tastes a little bit like a very mild green tea. If you brew it properly, it doesn't have any of the like super grassy aggression of a green tea. It's a lot milder. It still has a very tea flavor, but it's a little bit more like a toasted green or something like that. There's a lot of lower maltier notes in an oolong. And this one has a sort of what I would call sort of a summer hay component to it. It's very warm summer day, afternoon, outside in the grass with the grass kind of dried out sort of flavor. I like it. I like oolong a lot. To me, it's sort of halfway between a malty toasted black and a green. And this one tastes just like that. The butterfly pea doesn't add a lot of flavor. If anything, it just adds an additional slightly grassy note. Some people can taste it and don't like it. I've really tried to taste it, and I mean, if it's the only thing in the tea, it has a flavor to me, but it's just not a particularly strong flavor. So to me, it marries very well with an oolong butterfly pea flower, which is why I think it's its best caffeine association. A lot of people do butterfly pea with green rubioses and non-caffeinated teas. All right, also the oolong in question doesn't have very much color to it, which allows the butterfly pea to do the bulk of the work. So what did I do? I brewed the hot one, which I was just drinking. I also brewed a cold one. So I brewed it and then I just stuck it in the refrigerator for a couple of hours. And so I could show you what you can do, what it does with some of the chemical components. So the first thing I'm gonna do is take the hot tea and add milk to it. And then I will show you what it looks like and what it tastes like. So this is the bit it's hard to do. I have to tilt the camera. There's what it looks like. It's just a pretty blue. Very, very like the cover of the book. Now I'm going to add milk to it, and you'll see. Now milk is a base property, right? It's a basic in terms of pH. So it shouldn't change the color very much. It should stick to quite blue. And so here it is, proof I'm just adding plain old milk. And that is in fact exactly what happens. So here it is with milk in it. It looks just like baby blue, right? It's just fairy tea. It's just a perfect blue tea. It basically is the color of the bottom bit of this book. Now we're gonna try it. Now I don't drink oolongs with milk very often, but yeah, it tastes good. It tastes fine. It tastes great, actually. It's a little bit like adding an oolong to a weak malty black tea, like an Assam or an English breakfast or something like that. If you brewed that relatively weak and then you added milk to it, that's very similar to what this tastes like. It has a tiny bit of green notes to it, but it marries really nicely with milk. I think oolong tends to. And because I'm using regular old milk, it adds that sweetness that the lactase carries with it. So it basically just sweetens the oolong a little bit. And I think it sweetens it better than adding, say, a sugar would, because sugar could easily overpower this tea, whereas the sort of mild sweetness of milk just pairs really well. I mean, they call Taiwanese mountain oolong is also often referred to as milk oolong, and that's for a reason. Now, this isn't a Taiwanese brand, I don't think, but still, the milk oolongs are called milk oolongs because they already carry with them a little bit of this sort of milky sweetness. So adding milk to an oolong is absolutely fine, especially when it's warm. If you want the ritual of it, it's not traditional, not that I know of anyway, but I think it tastes fine. You can get milk bubble tea made with oolong, in which case, of course, it is pretty findable. So yeah, I like it with the milk a lot. The color is crazy. It's a lot of fun. Okay, what I'll do is I'll show you in the big pot later. We can have some fun with experimentation. So to make this easier on everybody, for the cold tea, I did bring some little plastic cups so you could see. So we're gonna pour the cold tea in. Oh, let's do it in front of my head so you can see the color. There it is. There's the oolong, there's the color, right? So this one's cold. I thought I brought two things to add to it. I brought Yakults, because often when you order a bubble tea, you can get a Yakult oolong mix bubble tea on ice with like boba and stuff like that. I love Yakult. So Yakult has an acid sweet component to it, so it should turn it purple. Let's see what happens. There it is. That is exactly what happened. Yay! Oh, I'm so pleased. It did. Gail does science. It did what it was supposed to do. So essentially, this is a sort of a yogurty based drink, and so it has a very sourness to it. It has an acid in it, and then the milkiness is coming from the yogurt emulsified in it, kind of like a kefir or something like that. And it should add a sweet, fruity component to the tea. And it does, it's good. I mean, you have to like Yakult, but I like it. So if you added lemon to the tea, it would probably do something like this without the cloudiness, of course. Okay, and that's the other thing I brought to test. So, oh, that's the hot one. I don't want to do the hot one. I want to do the cold one. Okay, so here we are with fun and games with science and tea number 2. So here's the tea in its cold 3-minute brewed form. And the other thing I brought was some boba to go in it. So here we're gonna try it. So that's what happens when you just put a little bit of the juice of the boba in there, which is firstly a faux fruit juice. It turns this beautiful purple. So that's what would happen if you put lemon into it. And it goes with the book cover. You can see why I was so excited about this tea, right? And then I'm gonna throw a few of them. This is the pomegranate popping boba, but you know, this will work with any. Like the blueberry popping boba is a lot of fun with this tea because it's the blue color. But so there's the bobas in it. And yeah, that just makes it sort of a fruity oolong. So if you are somebody who likes fruity black teas or fruity green teas, then you know, you can make it yourself. You can mix it with a little bit of fruit juice. When it's hot, you can melt some jam into it, strawberry jam or raspberry jam or marmalade or something. That'll add like sweet and acid, and that will also change the color to the purple. So I dropped a boba. So yeah, there it is. It's so much fun. So now we have like all these different colors. I'm very excited about the whole situation. I'll show you what the just milk version looks like here. So there it is, just with cow milk. There it is with like a little acid and what amounts to a yogurt mixed in. And then here it is with just acid mixed in. And here it is in its natural form. Thank you for joining Gail for tea. Now I'm going to work on drinking all of these. I think I'll start with the milk one. Yeah, so I know quite a few of you have ordered the tea. It's called Deep Blue Abyss, and it's at Tea Punk Teas. And there's a link in the description. Like I said, I'm not sure if it's still available. I'm not getting a cut or anything. I purely did this for fun. They're a great operation and I love them, and I wanted to throw some business their way, but also I knew that they would be like super versatile and easy to work with, and they're nice people. So that's mostly why I chose them. I know them from the steampunk circuit, so they and I have been at a lot of steampunk events together over the years. So I basically just reached out to them and said, hey, would you work with me to create a space tea? Because I really would like to create a caffeinated, excuse me, too much tea. A caffeinated tea that that has butterfly pea flower in it and that changes color. And I think oolong would be the best. And it's the market, like there's nothing like this on the market. So would you work with me? And they did, and they do. So they made this amazing box to go with the tea. It has my signature on it and art that's inspired by the book. It has a quote from the book, and then it has instructions on how to make it and ordering it. And if you Google Gail Carriger Space Tea, I have a whole blog post about it and my tasting notes and all these different ideas of the things that you can do with it and recommendations. It's a lot of fun. It's a really fun tea. You also don't have to order it yourself. Like you can, there's in the blog post, it also says how I originally created it. So I just ordered a Taiwanese mountain oolong, so you can try with your favorite. You want an oolong that's not a ruby. So there's two kinds of, there's like a spectrum of oolongs. You want one that's on the sort of greener, paler end of the spectrum, and that's not too dark. The ruby oolongs out of Thailand are delicious, but they're going to be too dark to mix with butterfly pea flowers. And then you can order the butterfly pea flowers yourself too. So you can make this tea yourself if you like. It's just conveniently in a container. Yeah, so that's the tea. Like I said, I don't even know if they have it in stock at the moment, but they promise they'll get it back. And I'm just delighted. I feel like, what, it's been 14 years? It's about time I made a tea, right? Tea's always been part of me and my DNA and part of my life as a writer and part of my worldview. So I'm super excited that I got to make a tea, and it's like crazy, brightly colored, tons of fun tea. Like, what more could you ask for, right? So this has been Tea with Gail. I'm ready to take questions if you have some questions. I didn't have a real concrete plan. Like, to be honest with y'all, it's been a wild couple of weeks around these parts, shall we say. I have very old parents, and, you know, as my mother says, it never rains, but it pours. If one of them goes down, others will follow, like stacks of cards. So, you know, and then some other crisis will hit. Everything comes in threes, good or bad. Speaking of which, the third one in this series, which I hope will be perceived as a good thing, is coming out soon. Thank you to everybody who's been buying them as they've released. But for those of you who've been waiting, it's coming. It'll drop on October 1st in print and digital. I'm hoping to get the print pre-order up soon. It's always difficult with print. It's called Dome 6, and it has a really cool cover. And yeah, so then there'll be 3. It concludes the story, so you will have a completed story arc, a completed trilogy from me. Amazing, I know. It's my first trilogy. Everything else has been in 4s or 5s. And I think it's great. I think it's probably the tightest, cleanest story arc I've ever written, because I wrote them all back to back and I could go and edit and clean things up, so everything's sort of interwoven, even more than usual. And I'm really delighted with them, so I hope you like them. This one's hurting for reviews, so if you have read the second one and you are inclined to give it a review, that always helps with the algorithm and getting it in front of other people's eyes and attention, wherever you want to review it. I mean, Amazon, of course, but Goodreads or BookBub or wherever you want to throw it a review, Kobo, Barnes & Noble, whatever it is, it's always really helpful. It just gets the book seen more, because it's social proof. Other people have read it and enjoyed it. So, honest review, of course. If you didn't like it, also review it. No skin off my teeth. I never buy products that have all 5-star reviews. I'm always interested in people's counter opinions, even though if you don't like it, you're wrong. Of course. Robin is saying more about Tea Punk teas. Yes, they have a wonderful range of tea, I've got to say. They have a Pu'er. I'm not a Pu'er girl. It's the only Pu'er I like. It's called the Grand Arbiter's Existential Despair. It is a plum brandy Pu'er. I highly recommend it. It's kind of, to me, the flavor profile is a bit more of like a winter tea. It's a real sit by the fire in the cold evening, which we're not there yet, but or at least not here, in my part of the world. But yeah, that's a delicious tea, the Existential Despair. And you get to say, I'm sitting here drinking Existential Despair. Who doesn't want to say that? And they also have a masala chai that I really love. Those are my probably 3 favorites. So this one, obviously, the Deep Blue Abyss, and then Existential Despair and the masala chai. But they have quite a few herbal blends as well. They actually have a butterfly pea leaf based Rubios. So if you like a Rubios and you don't want the caffeine, but you want to play like I did with the different adding the different components to it, milk and acid and stuff, and seeing the color changes, you can do that with the Rubios. And I think they have a mint and butterfly pea as well if you want a totally herbal. And they have lots of other options and mixes and blends. It's a pretty fun operation. And like I said, they're good peeps too. Yeah, Jocelyn is on saying that she loves their chai. I love their chai. Let's see. We have a lively discussion going in the comments about teas. And I'm scrolling through... Oh, Morton's Mint, says Jocelyn, is the name of the butterfly pea one. But there are options. I'm scrolling through to see if we have any questions, but it doesn't look like I do that. Allergic to caffeine. How do we even survive? Yes, that's a good question. It's not for me though. Lavender, of course. Hello, Lavender. Should I switch to this one in your honor? Why don't I do that? Lavender, incidentally, is one of our regular attendees and questioners, shall we say. So Lavender asks, do I have any info to share on how well it's been selling, or is it still too early? I'm afraid it's still too early, although, you know, I very much appreciate you asking. I have a blog post where I'm kind of drafting things up and trying to keep track of what's going on, and I will share it with you once I know more. The thing about like sales and is the data doesn't come to us until at least 2 months out. So I'm starting to get some data on the first book, but the carryover as a new book releases and all this sort of other stuff means that like that's the first book at launch, and I really just need more information from like after the second book has come out and it's mostly just released. It's just the way data works. It's complicated is the answer. Out the gate numbers wise, these books performed as well, if not slightly better than my science fiction does in general. And my science fiction performs about 1/3 as well as anything I write in the Parasolverse. Most of you, my darling fans, are pretty predictable. You onboarded via the Parasolverse, and that's what you want me to write in, and that's what you want to read. It's pretty hard to persuade you to read. It's hard enough to persuade you to read young adult, let alone white science fiction. So it's been the work of a decade trying to persuade you to give sci-fi a chance. Just give sci-fi a chance. I know when I was first reading, I didn't read sci-fi myself. I only read fantasy. So, you know, sometimes it takes people a while to try sci-fi. So that is exactly was pretty much what I was expecting. What's been unexpected is how well and how much you're willing to buy directly from me. So those numbers have gone way up over the last couple of years, for which I am very, very grateful. That's why I give you lots of perks for getting it directly from me. You get it early, you get the sample chapter, you get as much as I can give you ahead of time if you order the books directly from me. And that has been climbing. So that's been doing really, really well. So thank you very much, those of you who order directly. I do get more money from that, percentage-wise as well. And I'm super grateful that you're taking a chance on an author's platform rather than a big commercial platform like Amazon or Kobo. So that's how they've been going so far. There's your business report. But yes, please spread the word. I mean, I'm not complaining at all. You've been glorious as always. I always say I have the best fans, and I'm not shaken even slightly from this stance, quite frankly. But if you know somebody who might want to try this kind of sci-fi or who's interested, that's the hardest part. Is in technical terms, these books have no comps. There's no comparable titles already out in the world. There's books that are sort of like it, like Becky Chambers' Wayfarer series, or maybe to a certain extent the Murderbot, or Monk and Robot. So they're kind of comps, but those are specifically for adult readers. So that's where it struggles, is you can't say, you'll love this book if you love Twilight, right? Like, you just can't say that. So that's where, but if you know somebody who likes sci-fi, who might be intrigued by this kind of thing, tell them to try these books, please. Because that's the only way I can get new readers at this juncture. That's where the real struggle is finding new people who might love the books. And I'm so in love with these books. They're such great books, so I wish they could find new readers. I wish they could go find the people who will love them. So, and trust me, the last book is probably the best. I think personally, final books in series is one of my strong points as an author. I feel like I'm really invested in sticking the landings and making sure the ending is very, very satisfying for everybody. And I really had a chance to excel at that with this series because, like I said, I wrote them all together. So I think you'll love the final book. I am super, super proud of it. I think it's going to be very satisfying and very cohesive. And yeah, I'm going to scroll back. Oh, TK has a question. Am I going to do an omnibus for this series? Possibly. So TK is asking specifically about a digital omnibus, but I've also thought about physical omnibus, like a hardback. It would be a very fat book, right? These two are already quite fat for omnibus. So add a third one, which is pretty much the same length as the first one. That's a honker of a book in terms of a print edition. But I might reach out to my contacts and see if they're interested in still maybe producing a fancy hardcover. I would love to do like an actual deco cover, like just like the time period where it's the cloth deco with the emboss and everything. And wouldn't that be cool? So, I'm not opposed to that at all. It would be a limited run special kind of dealy. So far as a digital omnibus, I'm not sure. Maybe. Probably not immediately. It might take I might wait a bit to do that. I've done it before with fan service. I did a digital omnibus of that, and it didn't sell particularly well. So, I don't feel really motivated to do a digital omnibus, although it's very easy for me to do from a tech perspective. And they are very much a linked story, so it does kind of make sense. Sue wants to know if we find out who the divinity really are. Yeah, you find out everything about the divinity. All secrets are revealed, pretty much. And then Fex has to make a very serious decision. And that, among other things, is what the final book hinges on. Yes, one of the things I always say with sci-fi and fantasy is that part of the reason people read the genre, I think, certainly one of the reasons I read the genre is that there's a mystery element that is part of the world building. So one of the reasons we read fantasy or we read sci-fi is because we want to learn more, not just about the characters, but about the world. And so one of the pacing things that we do as authors of these genres is dole out information about the world. So I'm after exactly what Sue just asked, I want you to be curious about the aliens and the divinity and what's really going on and what their objective is. And so with each book, I dole out a little bit more of the information about that. And then you'll discover something, or Fex will discover something that maybe is true, or maybe is only half of the truth, or maybe is a lie that's being perpetuated. And so Fex is also discovering more and more as we go along. And of course, with the third book, I want to make sure you're satisfied. So all about the divinity will be revealed. So everything I know as the creator of it will be revealed, and hopefully that will be satisfying for you to have learned the solution to the mystery, what is going on. But it's also a good, plot-heavy adventure, the final book. So hopefully that answers your question, Sue. I'm gonna kind of move forward now on questions. So I think those were the only ones. So if I did not answer your question and you've already asked it, please ask it again, because I missed it in the chatter. And now I'm scrolling forward to see. Oh, Cindy has asked a question. Do I have a favorite character in the new series? Ooh, this is always a loaded question because you're asking me to pick my babies. I love Fex. My main characters, I often pick them because I identify with them, but also because there's something very endearing. There's something so kind of broken and precious about him, and the way he's so caring and doesn't kind of even realize it. He's so sort of closed off and scared, but also so willing to give of himself into the world. And I think that's a component of being an artist as well. This sort of war of introvert versus exposing oneself through one's art or craft. So, that's kind of where I'm coming from with this character, and that's why I love him so much. And I love a grumpy, taciturn character. Flute is one of my favorite characters from the Parasol Protectorate, for example. And it's not easy as a writer to give yourself essentially a low dialogue character as a main character, right? He doesn't have a lot to say. He has a lot to say to himself internally. He's kind of a poet at heart, but he doesn't have a lot to say externally. So Fex is he's a main character for a reason, because I love him. So far as the other characters are concerned, I'm a huge fan of Missit because those are my friends. Those are the people I collect around me, are these sort of chaotic, bright, shiny, sunshine people, right? This sort of like no holds barred drama queens. A lot of my lovers over the years have been that personality type. I like dramatic extroverts. What can I say? I have a type. So I love Missit a lot too. So far as the Pantheon is concerned, I love all of them. I wrote like my favorite, like Kaji, like that prickly, one of you described him as a burnt marshmallow, where he's like prickly and crisped on the outside, but like sweet and mushy inside, or a crusted cinnamon roll, right? That Kaji is like, yeah, I'm a huge fan of him for that reason, or Kagi. I haven't decided how you're supposed to pronounce his name. And then Tive, of course, who kind of just sort of sweeps in and is such like a grounding. And then Beryl, who's just this no hold bar, like lovey-dovey. And then Jinyaisen and Fandina are also like, I'm just like Jinyaisen's way of like always trying so hard to understand these aliens that they don't understand, or it doesn't understand at all. It just doesn't get them, but it is trying so hard. And then Fandina, who's kind of like a little ill-fitted itself for the Dicey in terms of not really kind of a bit independent, and definitely has a sort of strong core of leadership potential and decision-making power and confidence. So I wrote the whole pantheon of just really likable, different kinds of personalities, because I want to live with them for 3 books, but also I want you all to find your friends and yourselves when you're reading in these characters. I think you should have people you can identify with, and we're all different, so that's why I made them such a very different crew. So yeah, you asked a pretty much impossible question. I can't answer who's my favorite. So I answered your question already. Alexandra, is that a question or just a comment? Yay! Oh, Alexandra says that they love the sci-fi series even more than the Parasolvers, which is very heartwarming. Thank you. I'm so glad you are giving, those of you who are willing to give it a chance, I really, really appreciate it. Doc asks about the option. So the Parasol Protectorate series is under option to WoW or Frederator Studios, who are behind Adventure Time and a couple of other animation pieces. Castlevania was theirs as well. So they have the Parasol Protectorate under option, Solus specifically, but all of the books in that series. And it's in development, but that's dev hell for you. You may never get out of it. And of course, there's a writer's strike on right now. I'm not the writer, I'm just the creator, so they have hired a writer, so that writer is probably on strike right now. But they did renew the option, so it's still under option. They're still trying to develop it, and that's pretty much all I know. The last I heard, they'd essentially written some scripts for pilots, and I guess the next step is to see if they can find funding and cast and drop a recording or something. I don't know. I don't know how animation works. This is my first experience with animation. So. TK asks, Funsies crossover question. How would the Federation approach the Dicey for first contact, or vice versa? My goodness. How would Star Trek intersect with the Tinkered Starsong? Honestly, you're asking a Trekkie. For those of you who don't know, I'm a complete, I grew up at absolute Trekkie. It was my first fandom. And my first conventions were Create-a-thon, I think they were called, Star Trek conventions. I'm not ashamed. I'm very proud of this background. So if we were talking traditional Star Trek Next Gen, TNG, which was which is what I was raised with, and they were still running right now and doing episodes right now, that part of the franchise, I think that they would just do an encounter. I mean, I can't imagine they wouldn't want to explore the power of entertainment. It was an art and entertainment. It was a thematic aspect that they never built an entire episode around, not in this kind of form, the soft power form of entertainment. And I think it would be really fun to have the Enterprise D crew encounter the Dicey, kind of whole cloth as written. I think that would be really, really interesting. And I don't know how it would go. I mean, I think in classic fashion, Data would try to understand it and understand what is going on and wouldn't get it because it's creative and it's art, right? So we would have that theme. Riker would probably try to sleep with one of them, and that wouldn't work out well for anybody. And Picard would probably understand them a little bit better than most. He's a musician after all. We know that from Inner Light, among other episodes. And quite a few of the core cast were musician types within the context of the show, so that they might get the music side of it. And there'd probably be a mini concert in 10 Forward with a fake dome and stuff like that. The special effects would be 1990s terrible, and that would be that. There it is, your Star Trek Gail crossover, the only one that's ever likely to happen. Doc is being very silly. Robin, everybody's being very silly in the comments. I'm scrolling through to see if there's another question. Oh, Sarah, thank you so much. Sarah says that they're blowing my name up in the sci-fi fantasy group. I really appreciate that. You'd be surprised how much of an impact that has. Just like mentioning your favorite author has a new series or the book that you're currently reading, just saying that in comments or when people ask or when you're talking about it with friends or in a book group or whatever, it really does have impact. I do have a TikTok, but I'm terrible at it. I really tried, but like this is the only form of video that I think I'm any good at. Like I need you, I need help. I need someone else to help me. I can't just do it on my own. And like it just takes, like I have to get ready and be cute. And like TikTok isn't about that. TikTok is about like being real and like waking up and not having makeup on and like I don't let anybody see me like that. Like I don't let people I'm sleeping with see what I look like waking up first thing in the morning. That's a terrible idea. So I'm not like, I don't know. I think TikTok and I are very ill suited to one another. I keep thinking about it, but and you have to be on it regularly, and I just don't like short form video. I'm sorry, I'm too old. I think just the wrong generation. I'm happy to hang out on YouTube, but the shorts, they get me. Scrolling through. I'm a creature of the wrong time period, y'all. That's the truth of the matter. Doc asks about TVs again. I think I got that one. We love Kaji. That's true. Oh, so many comments. Lavender asks another one. Lavender asks for an 80s style. Oh, like Dirty Pair. Or, what's that robot one where there was a singer? There was a Japanese animation in the 80s. I want to say RoboCop, but of course that's not it. Robot Wars, Robot something or others. It was Mecha. There were, there was also a singer called Mei Mei. Or Mai Mai? Anyway, somebody will remember what it is, and it's getting very frustrated with me right now. But that was like, what was it on, like Friday nights, and it came over from the BBC or something crazy like that. Anyway, I remember, that was one of the first animes it was not the first anime, but it was one of the first animes I remember watching. And that one had a space concert music component to it. May or may not have influenced me. Who knows how we're influenced by our childhood. So yeah, that's sort of like early clunky anime feel, like Ranma 1/2, like before Ghost in the Shell and this truly like sophisticated style came into play. I could totally see that. That'd be really fun. But yeah, I mean, these ones, to me, of anything I've ever written, this is animation, right? This is anime. I can't imagine trying to do a live action of one of those. It has to be drawn. Like the dome technology alone, like how else would you get it across if you couldn't do it animated? Robin asks if I had any lovely desserts recently. Oh, that's a wonderful question. Have I had any lovely desserts recently? I had a strawberry mousse cream puff that was very nice, just from one of my favorite French pastry places. But I haven't had a lot of experimental desserting recently, which is a sin. I should get on that. I have been watching a lot of videos, including TikToks, which get sent to me, and then I'll go watch them. If somebody sends me a TikTok, I'm like, well, I guess I have one of my friends, right? On the street food scene in Thailand, where I will be next month, and there's a lot of desserts I'll be trying there. There's a lot of really interesting and exciting foods, and the kanom, or desserts, are definitely on that list. So I'll have an exhaustive report, but at the moment it's spread pretty tame dessert-wise around these parts. Yeah, one of my local restaurants has taken my favorite dessert off the menu, which is quite tragic. And then, oh, well, this is not important to anybody, but it is very exciting to me, is the town I live in has only a few independent ice cream places, and one of them I'm quite loyal to. It tends to have like ube and pandan and like interesting different flavors, as well as the standard flavors, and they're right near the beach, so I can go, I can get a cone, and I can walk on the beach and be very civilized about the whole experience. Look at the waves and pretend like I'm a sophisticated person. So that's my usual thing. And then we have a more long-running famous ice cream place, but I don't like it. And it's the one that all the locals go to, right? It's like the ice cream place du jour, and it's just not the one I like. I like the other one. But I still keep trying the popular one. Look, its vanilla base is just too sheet cake. It tastes like vanilla cake instead of like a vanilla ice cream, and I just don't like that. And their chocolate is too weak. I like a chocolate that goes more on the dark end of the spectrum. Those would be bases. I'm a full of stuff girl. Like, I like my ice cream to be full of different things and chunks and nuts and thises and that's. Like, I just like ice cream that's like overboard. Okay, so I had both bases were off the table at this ice cream place. Well, I went in there and I asked the grumpy teenage boy behind the counter what his favorite is. This is a secret. Like, if you're being served by a grumpy teenage boy, always ask them what their favorite thing is at that restaurant. It's probably worth trying. And they're grumpy and they have no shits to give, so they will actually tell you. So, hot tip from Gail on food. Anyway, so I asked for a change, and the grumpy teenage boy said the coffee, I think it was like the coffee, fudge, or whatever that equivalent was the ice cream to beat. And he was absolutely right. So that is a very exciting dessert thing in my life, which is my local ice cream place, which is actually more walkable from the office and everything on a very hot day. The secret is to get the coffee ice cream. Not anything chocolate or vanilla based, coffee based. And they usually have like 2 or 3 things that have coffee in it, that are coffee based and then have other stuff inside it. So, and their coffee was actually really good. It was really strongly coffee, so like not too sweet, even edging into bitter. And that's how I like my coffee ice cream. I like it to be really strong tasting. So that's my exciting dessert thing, is that I finally found the thing I can get at the most popular ice cream place in town. So, you know, we all get our excitement where we can. TK asks another Funsy crossover. Oh, we already did that one. Boo, boo, boo. Also, which captain would I want to lead first contact? With the dicey? If I had to choose? That's a really difficult question. I'm now going through all the captains of the Star Trek universe in my head. I'm gonna go with Picard. Yeah, I think because of the music thing. I don't know if he's like relaxed enough for them, but that's I'm gonna go with Picard. I'm classic, perhaps too classic. Yeah, obviously it can't be Kirk, because he'd try to sleep with them and then it would just be a real mess. That would cause an incident. Somebody says, can you imagine Quark owning a dome? I'm like, how do you know he doesn't have a whole franchise at this juncture? The dessert question, and scrolling through. Hi, Jocelyn. Yes. Jocelyn suggests filming a TikTok after a regular video, and I'm like, yeah, but then I have to have 30 seconds of me being snappy, and like, I can be snappy and fun, but apparently only long form. Sarah asks, ever thought about transferring one of the lives over to TikTok? If I ask, they give you a longer slot. I have thought about it. I don't know how the interface works in terms of like comments and Q&As and all that sort of a thing. I've also thought about doing it on YouTube, the lives, simply because Facebook is such a pain to deal with, and it's Facebook. Like, let's be real, we don't want to have to always be here and obeying the great mech warriors. No, Doc, that's not Robotech. Robert, 10 points to Robert. The early anime sci-fi I was trying to think about was that had the singer in it was called Robotech. That was the one. Thank you, Robert. Making book list videos. There are many things I've thought about, like blog posts could be TikToks. I could do makeup stuff on TikTok. There's tons of stuff I could do on TikTok. It's just, do I want to? And do I want to add to my to-do list? Like, I already have a lot of stuff that I do each day in terms of social media and keeping in touch with you and all that sort of thing, so. It's not that I don't want to, it's just that I don't want to. All right, you want to see the blue turn blue with milk? Since I brought the milk, I have the whole thing. Ready? Here we go. Ooh. I was watching a, speaking of YouTube and video, I was watching a Japanese vlogger who was playing with butterfly PT and did this thing where she like spread like a cream cheese, a sweetened cream cheese in shapes on the inside of a clear glass and then poured the butterfly tea in so that it had this sort of clouds in the sky look. Very cool. Your comments are so funny, everybody. Robin asks if I've seen The Amazing Chocolate Guy on YouTube. Yes, I have. Mostly because The Amazing Chocolate Guy gets shared over to Facebook and to Tumblr and to various other places that I hang out. And so, yes, I've seen Amazing French Chocolate Guy. I am pleased to note that Amazing French Chocolate Guy has moved from just creating to actually occasionally eating the results. This is the thing with the amazing realistic food people, is all very well and good to see it get made and be beautiful and pretty. I would also like to see it get consumed. And I would like somebody to tell me what it tastes like. This is like very important part of the equation. It's all very well if it looks good, and pretty food is very important, but it also has to taste good. That's the rule. And I would like somebody to give me tasting notes. Tell me what it's like. This is something that's very French. Like, while we're ranting, Gail's going to rant for a moment about Wikipedia, where, you know, it's fine for preliminary research. It's not great. I will go to a library or other places if I really, or have to go to primary sources or whatever, if I'm writing historicals. But it never taught, when you're doing like bio research on it, so plants, fruits, vegetables, those sorts of things in other places around the world that for a change I maybe haven't eaten, because I'm trying, but I haven't eaten all of the plants and vegetables in the world that I would like to eat. They will talk all about how it grows, what the fruit looks like, even what it smells like. Almost never do they talk about what it tastes like. It's so frustrating. Actually, that's how I got to a bunch of YouTube, like, fruit people. I just follow a bunch of channels that talk about fruit because they'll tell me what it tastes like. And that's, and as a writer, I need to know what a thing is like on all senses, in terms of like, what does it smell like? What does it feel like? What are the colors? Like, all those sorts of things. But also, what does it taste like? What is it edible? What does it taste like? Lavender wants to know if there are any chances of some Thai street food TikToks. It's possible I will drop some. I mean, like, Piper, who I'm going to Thailand with, is all about the TikTok, so definitely possible that you will get that from me. And if people like them, I'll keep doing them. But generally speaking, I look at like how many people look at any one of my TikTok videos, and if they don't like that kind of video, I don't do it again. Right? So like, it's pretty simple. I am on social media for you. So if you're not interested in what I put on social media, I stop putting it on social media. And the numbers tell me that immediately. So yeah, of course. But you know, like I don't often post pictures of like meals or food to Instagram or anything like that because people aren't really interested in that. They get that from others. So, you know, maybe I'll do a roundup blog post or something like that. But sure, there's always a chance that I'll bop on TikTok and do something if I'm made up for it. Or, you know, if I'm super excited about food. But here's the thing. Others are way better at this than I am. Because when somebody puts food in front of me, guess what I want to do? I want to stuff my face. Like, I don't want to take a photograph or talk about it. I want to just eat it. So I always forget to take pictures. It's funny because I've taken plenty of pictures of desserts, but I think that's mostly because I've already eaten. So I'm satiated, so I'm not as hungry. So I think, oh, right, I should take a picture of this beautiful piece of cake or whatever to commemorate this occasion. I was doing this thing for a while where I was talking about all the desserts of my career, where like I'd had this piece of cake with my Swedish editor or whatever. And I remember the story about the cake and what we talked about at the time and stuff. But I'm not very good with regular food because I'm usually hungry and I just want to start eating. And then it doesn't look pretty anymore because I've already started eating it because I'm in a mess. I'm just not trained. I'm not well trained for the age of chronicling your life on the socials. Kelsey asks are we going to talk about writing? Something rather than food. Amazing. Kelsey asks, what's the next book I'm hoping to finish writing? The next book I'm hoping to finish writing, I can English, is The Drowsy Dilemma, which is the fourth San Andreas Shifter book. It's halfway done, and I would really like to finish it. It's told in flashbacks and current day. So I've written all of the flashbacks, and I may do it linear. I haven't decided yet whether the flashbacks will be intercut or whether it's going to be one half of the book in the past and the rest in the present. We'll see. I have a feeling it's probably going to be intercut. But the flashback sequence, so half the book has been written, the whole flashback sequence, and now I just have to write the modern day section. I just haven't done it. So that's what I'm planning on writing next. And then that'll happen in Thailand and probably, hopefully, by the end of the year. That's the rough draft. Don't forget, it has to go through the whole editing process and everything after that. So don't get excited. It has to be actually finished before I'll really talk about when it can release. But that's what I'm hoping to finish next. And then writing after that, I don't know. I'm kind of open to whatever inspires me. There's a lot of possibilities. It could be the next Carriger book. It could be the next Tinkered Starsong mystery book, the Triss and Dre series. I have a really good idea for the second book for them. It could be Parasolvers. I have a Claw and Courtship book I really want to write for the Parasolvers. So it could. There's many options after that. There's a nonfiction book I really do want to finish, so I might switch gears and really try to finish that at the beginning of the year. And then turn my attention to whatever fiction is tickling my brain at the time. And then there's also the possibility that being in Thailand might spark something else as well. Whenever I'm in a place, I always start to get the desire to have my characters travel there as well. So I could foresee a book set in Thailand, either with the San Andreas pack maybe, or members of that pack going on vacation or something. Or I could do some research into the history of the area and maybe do a Parasolvers, something that goes to Thailand. So lots of possibilities. Yeah, so I'm definitely keeping my options open in this regard. This is the beauty of not being under contract, right? As I'm, since I'm not really a traditionally published author anymore, I don't have any active contracts at the moment, and that means that I can see where the winds take me. But that also means that I get to be really whimsical about my choices. Yeah, I'm lucky like that. But there will be something. Don't worry, I'm always writing something. Looking for question marks, seeing if there's any more questions. How are we on time? Oh, we're almost done. So if you could please stop asking questions, hold them for next time, or you can drop me a calling card, or you can reply to the chirp. If you have a burning question that I didn't get to today, the chirp's the newsletter. You could always just reply to the chirp. It's a way to get my attention if you can't get it any other way. Is the Deep Space Nine Dome 9? Of course it is. Or maybe Dome 999. Of course, naturally, of course it's Dome 9. What else would it be? I love that kind of thing. So clever. Deep Space Nine Dome 9. Doc poses a theoretical question. Realistic, perfect cup of tea, but it's really a cake. Amazing or nightmare-inducing? Honestly, I think just very difficult, because I tend to drink and prefer teas that pair well with cakes. So I tend to go for low sweetness level teas, so teas that aren't very sweet, because I intend to eat them with cookies or cakes or biscuits, right? So to take my perfect cuppa, which is, a very strong English breakfast or Assam with a bit of milk in it, that would make for a kind of an almost savory sort of cake. I don't know that it would be a very good cake because it wouldn't be sweet, and I do like sweet things to eat, but not to drink. So yes, the question is a bit too meta exclusive for my particular taste. Now, if you ask me to be sort of experimental with a bubble tea as cake profile, that's a different story, because I consider bubble tea a whole different class of tea. So I'll often get green or oolong based bubble teas, whereas my regular tea drinking tea in the mornings is is black. So I don't drink black bubble teas very often, although I know they're offered. So yeah, it's a different marriage. So, but I also would have to pick what my perfect cake is, and then turn that into a tea. That would be the direction I would turn that into a bubble tea. That's probably the direction I go. So it would be like a trifle based bubble tea. I'm sure there's a way to get at this, but we only have 4 minutes left, so I could spend a whole hour discussing the complexities of tea and cake. Have I watched The Big Brunch? No, but it sounds like my kind of thing. I don't have HBO Max, so I'm one of those people who's mostly cord cut, and so I don't carry many streaming services anymore, and HBO Max is one of the ones that I excised. Have I watched Tasting History? Yes, I have. There's also a couple of good kind of YouTube people who do historical cooking and stuff like that, which I always enjoy. Especially if they talk about what the food tastes like. The aforementioned, as a writer, that's the important bit, is sure, recreate the ancient medieval stew or whatever it is you're going to do, but also tell me what it tastes like. Tell me what it's similar to in the modern age. For example, I got a hold of some translations of Epicus, which is a Roman cookbook based on some of the food found in Pompeii on the wall, right? They would write recipes on walls and kitchens and stuff like that. And so we have a record of Roman cuisine. And then I tried to cook it. And the really interesting thing about cooking ancient Roman food is how unlike Italian cuisine it is. It doesn't taste like Italian food pretty much at all. It's completely different flavor profile. Because remember, they don't have access to many of the things. They don't have tomato, for one thing, the Romans. So that, obviously that's going to impact Italian cuisine. In fact, what it tasted a lot like is Northern African cuisine, the Roman stuff. So there's a lot of cumin heavy, a lot of earthy notes, a lot of beets and those kinds of phenols, those sorts of components in ancient Roman cuisine. So this is just very interesting to me from a writer perspective, to sort of think about what the smells of things cooking would have been like in a city, but also what the tastes of those foods are. So yeah, I like the shows where they're doing historical cuisine, but they also talk about what it actually tasted like. Because that's interesting to me from many parts of my personality, not just the writer part of me, but the archaeologist part of me. Oh, you all are so cute. The comments are always so much fun. Reactions. Will Kevin ever have his own book? Asks Robin. Possibly. I don't know. He seems to be pretty happy as a side character at the moment. I tend to not, like, until a character announces themselves at sort of the forefront of my brain and tells me that they have a story to tell, I don't write them anything. And so far Kevin hasn't done that. Kevin seems pretty happy to be in the background, so he's staying there for the time being, but it's possible. Anything's possible. Food's changed based on based on what ingredients were available. Yes, absolutely. I mean, this is the interesting thing about doing recreative cooking in particular, is you learn a lot about, you know, the foodways and transport mechanisms and storage capacities and stuff like that. You know, when people don't have plastic, and so spices are not as potent in, say, the Victorian era than they are now, because they lost a lot of their potency during transit because they couldn't be stored in airtight containers and stuff like that. Alrighty, my darlings. Well, this has been a fun, rambly sort of live, but it's been a delight. Me and my blue and purple teas are going to sail off into the blue and purple sunset together. Rebel wants to know more about the San Andreas shifters, and the short answer is, I don't know. I don't know what's next after Dratzi Dilemma. We'll see. I think I might do a recover, and we'll probably talk to you all about that, as in we'll put some new covers on them and that sort of a thing. So, but yeah, let me get the next one out first, then we'll talk about the rest. It's always the case. Eyes on, like, have Gail just finish the book and publish it into the world. That's all that really matters, right? Let the author get done with with whatever's in progress. The key is to finish the book, everybody, whether you're finishing the book by reading it or whether you're finishing the book by writing it. There's going to be one more live. It's going to be an abnormal time to live. It's going to be on soon. It'll be the last, I think it's the last day of September, maybe the 30th, whatever the Saturday is at the very end of the month. And that's just because I can't do a launch video for Dome 6. So I'm going to do a little launch party a day early, a day before it drops. Some of you who ordered ahead of time maybe will have started it, or even the crazy fast readers will have already finished it in that regard. But so that'll be a little launch party. So you'll get an announcement about that. And then there'll be nothing in October unless I drop some TikToks from a Bangkok street stall or something like that. So wish me luck. I'm very excited about this trip. For those who don't know, I fell in love with Thai food when I was 10 years old, and it's been my favorite cuisine ever since, and I've always wanted to go there, mostly to eat the food. So I started planning this trip before lockdown, and now I'm finally getting to take it, and I'm super excited about it. So yes, I'm finally going to Thailand for a whole month. So of course I won't shut up about it. Sawasdee ka, everybody. And I will see you all at the end of this month. And then, yeah. So if you have any final questions about the series or anything, we'll talk about it in a couple of weeks. Bye, everybody.